Hello my friends, welcome back to Refit and Sale. My name's George Isted, the Solent Boat Butler. I refit and repair boats for a living. This is a 1976 Contessa 32 that has been with me for a very extensive refit, and today is a very exciting, important day in this refit. Today she's getting launched. So this video is all about getting the boat in the water, some commissioning checks, checking the engine works, doing all that sort of good stuff. So stay with us for a very exciting and slightly nerve-wracking day. This boat has been here for about 2 years now, just a smidge over 2 years. I haven't worked on it for that full 2-year period. For various reasons, I've been ducking in, ducking out. This isn't the only project that I've done in that time, but it has had a huge amount of work done on it, inside, above decks, below the waterline. So I think what I'm going to do is just quickly run through my list of things that have been done in the refit of this Contessa 32. So starting on the outside, below the waterline, when it turned up it was very blistered on the bottom, so it had to have a full osmosis treatment. So seacocks all came out, I peeled the hull, I then media blasted it and washed it many times. It was then dried with heat and vacuum pads. Once it was acceptably dry, it was glassed all over, filled and faired. I then had to do some repairs as part of this. So there was a big repair needed to the bottom front of the keel and the back top of the keel. So it filled and faired, seacocks put back in, and then there was a barrier coat put back on, and then finally, and quite recently, it got copper coat on the bottom. Now, as part of that, it also got a new stern tube because the old bronze stern tube had become detached, so we put a new glass fibre stern tube in, obviously with cutlass bearing and all that sort of stuff. On the rudder, there were a whole bunch of rudder repairs done on that. It wasn't in great shape. It had obviously had some damage in the past, so that's all been repaired, filled, faired, glassed over. I had to remachine the very top of the rudder stock because it was all a bit mangled and mashed, so we've kind of salvaged that rudder. Could have put a new one on, but we'd spent a lot of money on this boat and it wasn't too far gone. We also glassed up the old transducer holes, and then we put a new central line transducer housing on the centre line of the boat for the depth and the speed. We glassed up some seacock holes in the heads so that we could relocate the seacocks to a slightly better location. And yeah, that was a huge amount of work, and there are videos on that. So above the waterline, the top sides were re-gel coated something like 15 to 20 years ago, and whilst there is damage there, basically they've been cleaned and polished. I haven't done anything to the top sides whatsoever. That is something that may get addressed in the future at some point, because there are dings and scratches and what have you. It's not perfect, but actually it looks pretty good. And the owner's taken the view that, well, he's going to add a few scratches and dings to it as he gets used to sailing the boat and parking the boat. So he just thought, well, I'm going to leave that for now and maybe get it painted or re-gelled at some point in the future. Up on deck, all the tow rails have come off, and any gaps, holes and what have you, voids in the upstand that the tow rails go on have been filled and repaired. Then it's had new handrails, it's had new tow rails, all up on here. On the deck, all the old deck gear has gone in the bin because it was all original 1976 gear, so everything has been replaced. So it's all new Harken winches, Harken Traveller, blocks on deck, deck organiser and what have you. Behind me you can see a deck ring and of course a mast. Now that is a brand new mast, so the old gold mast that was on this boat, which was original, could have been salvaged, but you know, it's getting on for 50 years old, and the cost for doing the repairs that were required to fix corrosion issues and other problems with that mast were half the cost of a new stick. So we've put a new stick in there, obviously all new running rigging, all new standing rigging, new boom, it's got a rod kicker and all the associated blocks and bits and pieces that go with that. What else have we got on deck? So it has had all new windows, it has had a new front hatch, it's had a new middle hatch, it's had a new sliding hatch I had made. In the cockpit, it's got all new cockpit decking, so the seat tops were really horrible and nasty original, so it's got nice decking all around the cockpit, which looks lovely. I also had to repair and reinforce the underside of the opening lockers because they were super flexible, so they've all been repaired as well. Right, what else have we got? Engine. So the engine that's in this boat now is the engine that it came with. It's got a 2GM engine and it's in really, really good condition. So the owner said, look, if we don't need to change it, let's not change it. It works, and it does. I've serviced it, and in fact, I briefly pressed the starter button, having bled the fuel to it, and it just started on the dock here by accident, so I switched it off quickly. But it's a good engine. It is on new mounts, because the old ones were, we don't know how old, so it's got new engine mounts in there. It's also got a new prop shaft, a new stern gland, new cutlass bearing, a new R&D coupling. I've already mentioned the new stern tube, and it has a Darglow feathering prop installed as well. So that is all good. Inside the engine bay, it's all been flow coated. All the old sound insulation was taken out. Some really nasty, horrible holes in the engine box have been repaired. All painted, all beautiful, all new sound insulation. It even has lights in there, so if you need to work on the engine, you can click a switch and you have illumination, which is rather nice. Then we get to the inside. So all the internal woodwork stripped and revarnished. Most of the internal woodwork was in really, really good condition, so that has come up really, really very, very nicely indeed. The floor was taken out. The floor was pretty nasty. There's a water tank under the floor, so that has come out. So it's got a new stainless steel water tank. It's got new mini bulkheads in the keel area, which adds some structure to the boat, also supports the water tank. New subfloor down there, and then a new teak and holly effect solid wood floor that has gone in. That's actually maple and maple, not teak and holly, but it looks exactly like teak and holly, but is really nice, hard-wearing flooring material to use. So in the forward cabin, the old cloth under bunk supports, the pipe cots, they've been replaced with plywood boards. In fact, there's new plywood boards throughout the whole boat just to get rid of the old pipe cots. There is new upholstery arriving this morning to go into the boat. It's called just-in-time delivery for it to go in the water. So the heads area was completely stripped out, gutted back to the bare hull, and I did a video about putting stringers into there and rebuilding that, so do check that out. So it's obviously got a new toilet in there as well, and we fitted a holding tank. These boats didn't originally come with holding tanks, so it has a holding tank in there. There is a new table. Well, I'm lying to you. There will be a new table when I built it to go in the main saloon, because the wood only got delivered yesterday, so that is yet to do, just to finish it off. In the galley, that has been completely refurbished, so the cabinetry behind the galley's all come out and gone in the bin, so that's got a new cabinet front behind the galley, new galley worktop under the worktop. I've built a custom-sized fridge box and fitted a fridge cooler in there and a compressor in the cockpit locker. New sink, obviously, new gas cooker, obviously, new gas system was installed 2 days ago into a gas locker, which I had to build and install because this boat didn't have a proper gas locker, and that was not an easy job. I haven't videoed that, probably a good thing because there was lots of swearing to actually get a gas locker, which would take 2 gas bottles and fit in the space where it needed to go. But there is now a proper gas locker which is vented overboard, and that's all been signed off by the gas fitter. On the chart table side, so it's got a new chart table top. I've re-veneered the bulkhead and made a new front to the cabinetry there as well because it was full of holes, so all the new electronics and electrical stuff has been installed in a nice fresh bit of cabinetry in the chart table area, nav station area. So it has been wired end to end, all new wiring throughout the whole boat, all new electronics, so there's a mixture of Raymarine and B&G, so there's B&G instruments and chart plotter, there's a Raymarine Evolution Pilot, there is a Raymarine AIS and VHF splitter combined unit in there, and loads of other stuff. To be honest with you, I haven't listed it all. New battery box, new batteries, so we've got Rolls AGM batteries in here. There's a smart charging system off of the engine, an alternator to battery charger from Sterling Power that smart charges the AGM batteries. There's obviously also a battery monitor, Victron battery monitor system in there. On the 240 side, again, all new sockets throughout the boat and a 240 volt charger. New upholstery, already mentioned that. New doorknobs. I'm really pleased with these little leather door pulls that we fitted on the doorknobs. Very minor thing, but it was very pleasing to put them on. We've got new lee cloths. There is a new spray hood to go on that frame, but it's not on there at the moment. New sails, so we've got a new main, we've got a new Genoa. I think we're reusing the spinnakers, all new running rigging. I think I've already mentioned that. We've got dodgers to go on the guardrails. And what other stuff? Right, new mast boom rigging, already mentioned that. Oh yes, fuel tank. So the old fuel tank was a barrel-shaped fuel tank. It only held about 30 litres, which is not a lot. So I designed and had built a custom extended range stainless steel fuel tank, which is now in the locker. That holds about 60 litres of fuel. It also has NMEA 2000 tank sensor in the top of it, as does the water tank, as does the holding tank, so you can see all the data from all three tanks on the instruments and on the multifunction display of the chart plotter. So that was quite pleasing. What else have we got? Heating. I was fitting heating yesterday. It is now September. This boat delivery is slightly later than planned, and I'm pleased the owner's not here, although I'm sure he'll be watching this. I think he's been chomping at the bit, I think is the nice way of putting it, to get this boat back in the water so we can go and play with it. It's slightly later in the year than we would like to get it launched. So he asked at the last minute, could I have heating installed? So I was doing that yesterday, and I have cut fingers to evidence that from putting the exhaust on. If anyone wants me to fit another heater on a Contessa, and I've done quite a few, every time I forget how difficult it is getting the exhaust on. So if you ask me, I might be busy. What else? Sails. Oh, and we also have a carbon fibre spinnaker pole hopefully being delivered today as well, because there's no spinnaker pole with this, because the old pole matched the old mast and it wasn't really adjustable to use on that. So so that's it. There are still a few jobs to do. Last night I was varnishing the floor, and I've still got to put the electrical panel in on the 12-volt side, and there's a million other little jobs. But today is the day. It is going in the water and it's going to float. And the owner's hopefully going to have a big smile on his face, because he's currently sitting on my boat, just having a coffee and collecting his thoughts for the day. I know he's desperate to come up and have a look, because he got here at about 10 o'clock last night. So I'm going to stop filming. He's probably going to come up, and the next thing you will probably see is this boat moving up the yard to the lifting dock. And it'll be a very important moment for this project. I just want to quickly cut into this video just to remind you that please do give me a thumbs up, a like down the bottom, and subscribe. It costs you nothing, it takes less than a second, but it does make a big difference to me, the videos I make, and how I can grow this channel. And a big thank you to those of you that donate to the show using the PayPal link that's down in the description. It also makes a big difference to funding this project, this YouTube channel, because there are costs involved in running this channel with software and hardware that I need to buy and maintain. So thank you to those that support me financially. So on with the show. And just like that, she is on her way to the lifting dock. So the lads will move her through to the crane over there. The owner is on the pontoon, the opposite side, just waiting impatiently for it to be dropped in the water. They'll drop it in. I'm going to do some checks just to ensure that there isn't any water coming in any of the seacocks or anything like that, because everything's been out and back in again. So I'm going to hop on board before they take it out the slings. Hopefully all will be well. It's just started spitting with rain, which is slightly annoying, and if all is well, they'll take the slings off and it'll get moved to a pontoon berth. Time for me to go and have a little looky. I'm sure it's all fine. Right. No water in there so far.
Excellent.
We're all good. I'll have a closer look. First check is seacocks. They look all dry. I'll left that one on, so I'll just switch that off. That's dry, don't know what that is. No water down there. Transducer is down here. All bone dry. That's all good. Check the other seacocks. We have one up there. That is bone dry as well. We have an engine seacock. Got some things to tidy up in there. All feels good. And the last ones you can't see whilst holding a camera.
That side, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just like that, she is in the water on a temporary berth here. There's still my tool bag in the cockpit, but she's all dry, she's floating. There's a mast. There are some sails down below to go on. There's about a million other jobs to do. And there is a very happy owner over there. Hello, Jamie.
Hello.
How was that?
Pretty special. Yeah, really special. I think it's I think because it's been in progress for so long, I think I'd almost forgotten that she was meant to be in the water and that's what she's meant for, but it's really nice to see.
Exciting?
Very exciting, yeah.
Nerve-wracking?
Yes, very nerve-wracking, especially when she was in the slings. But yeah, just really nice to have her back in the water, basically essentially a brand new boat, so super exciting, but also that in itself is a bit nerve-wracking for me as a relatively new boat owner. It's probably the only reason she's not had a respray as well, to be honest, because I'm probably going to crash it, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, she looks beautiful, and yeah, the workmanship that George has put into it as well is just, yeah, I'm quite speechless actually. It's a really lovely feeling.
Well, it is now the next day. The big day yesterday went without a hitch, so the boat got launched, no issues at all. I hopped on board just to check all the seacocks, all the hull openings, stern gland and all that sort of stuff to check it was dry whilst the boat was in its slings, so if there was an issue they could just hoik it straight back out again. But as expected, no issues. Thankfully, all fingers and toes were crossed because this boat had been out of the water for 2 years and everything has changed. So that was quite a relief to me and a relief to the owner. He was super excited and really sweet about how pleased he was with the boat and you know, what an occasion it was for him. So yeah, that was pretty amazing actually. You do put a bit of yourself into the boats that you work on when you're doing a refit of this sort of magnitude. It's not just like changing tyres on a car or something like that. You genuinely do form a bit of a bond with the boats that you work on when you're doing big refits like this one. So what happens next? Obviously the boat got moved around onto a marina berth. It's been sat here for 24 hours. It poured with rain last night and first thing this morning. I was listening to it in bed, but come onto the boat, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. The bilges are absolutely bone dry. I can't see any leaks anywhere coming up from below or coming down from the top, so that's all good. I've got lots of jobs to do. Yesterday I carried on with some wiring work, so all the wiring was put into the boat, and there was just a big mass of cables kind of coming out of the panel here which needed connecting up to the Blue Sea panel here. So I spent yesterday afternoon wiring all this stuff in and putting some extra cables in. So I'm going to continue on with that because we want to get this boat sailing. So after a big refit like this, the boat gets put in the water and then you have to do a whole load of commissioning stuff. Now, when you have changed a lot of things, there's always a risk that something isn't going to quite work out as you expected. So for example, whilst this engine was running perfectly, when the boat was hauled ashore, it's been out, it's been back in, I've changed all the fuel lines, I've changed the fuel tank, I've done lots of stuff. And so I bled it, and obviously I need to run it. I've also changed the prop. So I have run the engine now, so it started on the button, just went off and ran beautifully, no issues there. Ahead and stern all work. The prop is going the right way for the rotation of the gearbox and all things like that. So I've done as many dockside checks as I can do on the engine. The next step is to take it out on the river and run it up and down the river, but we'll also do that in conjunction with a whole load of other commissioning stuff. So in terms of the engine prop, obviously we've changed the prop, and there's a different pitch on the prop than was there before, so we want to check that we're getting appropriate speeds for the engine revs that we want, and there's no massive amount of black smoke coming out the back because we've over-propped it, or we're not getting up to speed because we've under-propped it. So so that's part of commissioning. Other parts of commissioning, as you'll recall, maybe if you've seen the earlier videos, I installed an alarm on the exhaust system on this boat so we can see if there's any spikes in temperature to give us early warning there's an issue with the engine. So I need to set up what those alarming temperatures are. So we need to know what normal looks like under load, and then maybe add 20 degrees to that, and then we've got a benchmark for where we might want an alarm to go off because we've got an abnormally high exhaust temperature. So that's commissioning again. I wonder how many times I'm going to say commissioning in this. Once the boat's on the water, we can also set up the autopilot and check that's working correctly. So there's a certain amount of dockside setup that you can do with an Evolution pilot. As a dockside wizard, you just go through to make sure it turns left when you want it to turn left and not right. But you need to go out and set up things like hard overtime and what have you, just to make sure it is performing as you want it to perform. I've installed lots of these, so I kind of know what settings that you want for a Contessa, but it's always a case of, you know, Raymarine tweak the software and change things, so it's a case of setting it up how I think it's going to work, going out, checking it. Same with the wind instrument. You know, we've set it up so it's pointing directly ahead, but there may be a degree of calibration needed to make sure it's reading the wind accurately. It could be a degree or two out, and that can be corrected in the software or the firmware. I'm not used to this boat moving when I'm on it, and a motorboat's just gone by, and you can probably see the gimbal is wobbling around. Oh, that's quite weird. It's also quite weird walking through the boatyard and the boat not being there. I did that this morning. I was like, oh yeah, this is a different landscape because it's been with me for so long. So that's quite cool. So there is a whole bunch of commissioning stuff to do, but I can't do that until we've got electrics, and I can test all of that. Can't do that until the sails are on, and obviously once the sails are on, we are going to take it out for a quick spin down to Southampton Water, a quick sail around, check everything works, and then it's got to go off and have some other bits and bobs done by some other people in the local area before it comes back for some final jobs. For example, I varnished all the floor, but I was standing on it yesterday when it wasn't quite hard enough, and I was planning to put another coat on anyway, so it's not the end of the world, but you can see where with bare feet or with socked feet, you can kind of see a few little paw prints from my feet and the feet of other people that have been in and out of the boat. So so that will get done almost as a final job. The upholstery needs attaching. The upholstery is lovely, that's all been done. There's a slight tweak that needs to happen to a couple of cushions, but that all needs fitting into the boat. And yeah, there's just lots of little jobs still to be done. And the commissioning is such an important process because I don't want this boat to go away, which it is. It's not staying locally to where I'm based. It is going to be going away, and I just want to make sure everything is absolutely as good as it can be, and then do a proper shakedown sail, hand over the owner, go through everything. Stupid things like we've got a holding tank here. I want to be able to flush the toilet and make sure the holding tank both works in terms of holding what you want it to hold and also emptying when you want it to empty. So all those little jobs, it's a 10-minute commissioning thing. but it's got to be done just to make sure everything is right. So I'm going to stop talking. I need to get this done. I've only got a half day to get all the wiring in and sort some stuff out with the rig, and then it's the weekend. Well, technically it's the weekend now, but crack on and I'll update you on progress, hopefully when we take this boat out for a little trip. Well, it is a very wet, although it has just stopped raining, a very wet Monday morning. I think it's going to rain most of today, unfortunately, but we are taking Countess Charlotte, Lottie, out for a quick trip up to Lymington. So this is her first trip out on the water. So I've done all the checks that I can do. I've just been playing with the electronics because some of the data I want to see wasn't showing, but it is now, so that's all good. Unfortunately, we don't have a head sail. You can see there's no furling sail on the genoa. We tried to put it on, but the furling genoa doesn't quite fit, which isn't the sailmaker's fault because he made it to some assumed sizings because the mast wasn't up when he came to measure the boat and had to do it. Also, he had to use some kind of standard Contessa sizings, but that is going to be easy to fix. But we have a main. But unfortunately, there isn't actually a lot of wind today. But the key thing is we want to get out and we want to try the autopilot. We probably will put the main up, so the cover's going to come off in a tick. The owner is just grabbing some diesel to put some more diesel in the tank because there's only about 20 litres in there, so we've got plenty should we have to motor the whole way. And yeah, that's it. It's an exciting day for him. It's going to be an interesting day for me, hopefully, to make sure everything works as well as it can. And if this rain can stay off, that would be amazing because it's been pretty miserable so far. Trying not to swear. It's been rather unpleasant, but nonetheless, that won't dampen our spirits. Boat looks great. I know every time I walk away from it with Jamie, the owner, he keeps kind of looking back at it and going, "Oh, it looks so good, George." So so he's really happy and really pleased, which means a lot to me as well. Go down the Hamble River. I've just given the helm over to Jamie. He asked me just to take it out of the berth. There he is.
Hello.
Happy owner. I'm afraid you're not mic'd up, but hopefully you can hear. And no one's died, no one's crashed yet.
Not yet.
It's all good. Well, we're now in Southampton water. The engine has just been switched off and we are sailing. This feels like a very special and important moment. It's lovely to have the boat moving under its own steam. We only have a mainsail, as mentioned earlier. It's a very nice mainsail, it has to be said. And I'm also pleased to say we have a very happy owner sitting there who doesn't seem to be able to get a smile off his face, which is rather nice. So yeah, this is very nice. No issues so far. I've just been sort of checking the engine and doing other bits and bobs around the boat, playing with the pilot settings, and just generally having a play with all the new bits and bobs just to check everything is kind of working as it should, and it is. It's remarkably problem-free so far, which is always good. There are still jobs to do, but boat's looking great. It's feeling great. Engine's doing everything it should do. The boat is doing everything it should do. Sails have gone up, no issues at all. It's all good. It's very, very nice, in fact. Feels as though we ought to give you a very quick view around the boat at sea. So there is our new Sanders mainsail, which is actually really, really lovely. And it's so nice having brand new sails on a boat. It's one of my favourite things to buy for a boat. And that's Southampton water we are in. So moving up on deck, we have a whisker pole there, jockey pole, bearing out spar. That is going to get painted black to match the carbon fibre spinnaker pole, which is currently down below. It's not up on deck because I don't currently have the deck fittings for the spinnaker pole. Looking aft, there she is. Happy man in the cockpit. Kind of wish we had a Janard to play with, but that will come in time. We've decided to replace the furler, so there's a Furlex 200S there at the moment, and it was always kind of on the cards to put a Harken Mark IV on there, and the owner has decided that actually everything else has been done, so let's just get that done while we're at it. And so once we're back from Lymington, the rigger's going to be taking off that forestay, putting a Harken furler on, and this boat is going to be fully Harkenified, apart from the occasional bit of Lumar and Spinlock. And if you can point those out, do let me know in the comments which bits on this boat are not Harken. There are one or two items. Well folks, it's now the next day. I'm back on Lottie and I am motoring back to the Hamble River. I didn't do much recording yesterday because it was fairly unpleasant actually, as it turns out. It was kind of rainy, spray, windy, and we could kind of only motor sail into the wind, which was very slow and tedious because we're doing it into the tide as well. So I didn't want to get my camera wet, so apologies for that. But I'm back on my own today. Jamie's headed off and left me with a list of bits and pieces that need to get done over the next week or so, and then the boat will go away for good after maybe a final test sail. We are getting a new furling system installed behind us because this is a Furlex 200 there, which is a good furling system, but Jamie's decided we're going to do a little upgrade to a Harken Mark IV, which in my view is the best furling system you can get at the moment, and it's going to be black to match everything, including the new spray hood, which was fitted this morning, which was the reason that it spent the night in Lymington and is now on its way home again. So the commissioning is kind of largely done in terms of I've been playing with the electronics, I've been checking the engine over, it's all running really well, it's all going very smoothly. I'm going to touch some wood now, yeah, it's all gone. I'm not going to say surprisingly well, because I do try to do the best job I can when putting boats together, but I always expect a few little hiccups when you're taking a boat apart and putting it back together again almost in its entirety. There are always going to be a few things. We've got a slight leak on the hatch behind me, which I think is coming in through one of the handles, so I need to investigate that. And there's just lots of little bits and bobs to do, and then she'll be going away for good. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's been a bit of a weird one because it's a boat launch and a bit of commissioning. Hopefully I've talked a bit about what I've been up to, and that has been of interest to you. If you want to support the channel, you can do so with the link that is down in the description. There is a link down there where you can buy me a beer. It's a PayPal link. If you don't want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But the one thing you definitely can do, which costs you absolutely nothing, is to hit the like and hit the subscribe button as well. So the likes, the thumbs up, and the subscribe button really does help grow the channel because it shows YouTube that you like it, and they should push it out to other members of the YouTube community that like sailing. So thanks very much for watching. I will see you next time on a completely finished Lottie. Bye for now.